Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of In the Eyes of Truth. Today we have Arnaud Develay. I'm sorry for butchering the last name. It's a superpower of mine. He's French, if you haven't figured that out. International legal expert and political consultant, and journalist too. So,
How are you?
Arnaud, uh, you're right now in Russia, or are you back in France, or where are you located?
No, no, I'm in Russia. I live in Russia now for 3 years.
Oh, okay. Are you living in Russia because you wanted to live in Russia, or is it because, like a lot of people have wound up recently as basically political refugees out of uh, super liberal democratic Europe?
No, actually, I was living in Syria
Hmm.
from 2020 to
Oh.
2022,
Hmm.
and so I was documenting the effect of the Caesar Act on the civilian population there. Because I'm a lawyer, I'm trained as a lawyer in the U.S.
Hmm.
and as a lawyer in France as well. On both sides, I'm licensed. I was actually I'm inactive now, but I'm technically licensed on both sides of the Atlantic. And so when the Russian Federation decided to move the schedule of the referenda plan for the what are called now the new regions, or the new subject of the Russian Federation,
Hmm.
upward from November 7th to September 22nd, 2022, I was solicited to come and participate. So
Hmm.
I had to go from Damascus to Beirut and pick up my visa and show up. And next thing you know, we had the European Union through the voice of Nathalie Loiseau, who's in charge, she's on point on those kind of issues. She's a rabid, uh, Russophobic individual on top of this. And she basically said, we're going to go after every single one of the observers.
Ah,
We're going
really?
to,
Really? That's
yeah,
democratic.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I mean,
Wow.
there was a German guy, a businessman. I forgot his name, but he went back to Germany, and they just ran hell on him. And so I ended up, of course, that's part for the course. I mean, along with thousands of people on those on that shit list as well. I was singled out also along with a few colleagues by the spokesperson, or should I say the transgender, whatever her name was. Who she disappeared now. I guess she must have been a plant, by
Hmm.
the U.S. Secret Service. And when they realized that she was doing more counterproductive things than initially anticipated, they must have recalled her. But yeah, so she tweeted, back in September 23, that we deserve to be, we the observers, we deserve to be, we were like vultures, picking on a carcass. She hit said,
It.
so
Yeah.
it, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that was
it
yeah,
was definitely doing more damage than good for the
that's
empire.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's some crazy ass stuff. Yeah,
Have you noticed that rabid leftist women are they're the most Russophobic, psychopathic nitwits, but they're ruled in the EU. Everywhere you look, you see them.
yeah. That's interesting actually, because we were told about 25 years ago that if only we had more women in positions of power, we might have peace on earth. I
Yeah.
remember that trope. Yeah. And then we had Samantha Powers talk about powers, no pun
Yeah.
intended, talk about Condoleezza Rice, Susan Rice, Victoria Nuland, Hillary Clinton. I mean, this is like reminds me of the those that Greek mythology, those three, what's it called, the Furies. Yeah,
They're
the
the Furies,
Furies.
yeah. But they've been
Yeah, right.
multiplying. There's a whole lot more than three of them.
Yeah, yeah. That's
No,
right. That's
I can
more. Yeah, it's called
explain
Harry.
Nuland. This is my supposition on Nuland. Nuland spent about 6 months in her youth, and she was actually a decent looking woman in her youth. She spent 6 months as an assistant cook on a Russian fishing vessel.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't expect that. I guarantee you there was a love interest or two, and she got spurned because she acts like a woman spurned. Like that deep-seated
Uh-huh.
hatred, just that
Yes, yes.
that's my
Well,
so
it's
that's my
interesting.
theory.
I never heard of that. She's extremely learned. She speaks Russian fluently.
Yes.
But from what I understood, I was an hour and 26 minute long podcast by Gonzalo Lira. I think that might have been somewhat substantially related to what ended up happening to him.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
went after just like he just basically that psychological profile. And I think it goes back to her grandfather who fled the Pale of Settlement in 1906. We're not going to revisit, some of the things going on back then, but suffice it to say that she carried over to the United States. Although the trauma, quote unquote, jumped one generation, her father did not seem to be really obsessed by Russia, although he ended up being hospitalized in a psychiatric ward and subjected to electrical shocks. But by the time she was 9 years old, the dinner table conversations were extremely, laden with those unresolved issues bearing back to 1906 and the
Hmm.
grandfather. And she might have looked at her father as a weakling because he should have picked up the load and he somehow never did so. He did pretty well on his own. He was a great scholar who was published, in his own right. I mean, he assimilated, as it were, as an American. But she decided that wasn't enough. She had to basically settle the score. And so then by marrying somebody like Kagan, who himself had his own issues in his own family, dealing with that late 19th century, early 20th century divorce of sorts with the Russian world. There you have all those people
Oh yeah, yeah.
who are, yeah, they are pretty much all like, it's like a group therapy. And the problem is that for all of us, they've invested the State Department, the Department of Defense, the think tank. They run the think tank industry in DC. They've got connection in Wall Street, and they've made it an obsession. It's a life obsession
What's
to
interesting in that,
basically.
and you're absolutely right. I've noticed that several years ago. You're absolutely right. They're all in that category. Uh, Western Russian Empire, Jewish origin, left pre-revolution or right around the revolutionary era, and they're still have the phantom pains. But what's interesting is they hate Russians, but the people that were causing the pogroms were what they call today Western Ukrainian nationalists that they support absolutely. So how do you
Yes,
explain
well, I
that?
know. Yeah, I would. It's very interesting that what you're saying because it also connects with the somewhat not that hidden ties between a certain brand of Zionism, uh,
Mm-hmm.
revisionist Zionism, uh, exemplified and embodied by guys like Jabotinsky, and National Socialism and or outright fascism, for that matter. So I guess it's really strange. I mean, let's look at the current iteration of what Ukraine is about today.
Hmm.
It's this kind of a 21st century version of Banderism,
Yep.
And when you point that out, they're saying to you, I mean, they're saying it less now, but 2 years ago, that was the trope. But how could they be Nazi? The president is Jewish.
Because I don't remember Nazism being specifically, written through that only for Germans, Hungarians, or whomever else, but not for these groups or these other groups. I'm pretty sure that
Well, this is actually something
fill
that,
in the
if you
blank where you
recall,
want.
I think it was in April 2022, Sergei Lavrov himself made a quipped about this. He said, I don't know, something along the line that uh, Hitler himself might have had some Jewish blood, and he took a lot of flack for it. But you're not going to do the anti-Semitic scarlet letter treatment to the Russians.
No,
It's I never understood this. I mean, it's like when they're trying to portray Vladimir Putin on a Time magazine cover, and those who somewhat throughout this nickname that they've got for him, like Putler. We know exactly where they're coming from with this
of course.
Putler. And it's like, I mean, come on, man. Have you got no shame? Like this Navy guy used to say that this lawyer in the during the Red Scare, and the sir, have you, at long last, have you got no shame? I
Yeah.
mean, but this is who we're dealing with. This is the type of people we're dealing with. And I guess in as far as that they're dealing with Western audiences who may or may not be educated to understand the historical ramification, it goes through like no problem, But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's to me, I mean, it feels really like, I mean, we're talking about 27 million people who died to liberate the continent from Nazis. 3% of the Wehrmacht was, handled by the Red Army. And I am no Bolshevik nostalgic, don't get me wrong, but facts are facts, right?
Yeah. 80% of the
So
casualties.
when
And
when you see,
it's
yeah,
not just German casualties. It's
right,
all of most of Europe.
right, yeah. So, but again, I mean, and so like 80 years later, having those kind of, I know it's all propaganda. I know it's all, they're trying to take the peace, but still, and it's covered at the highest level in NATO countries, and it's just like, yeah, this is really difficult to swallow.
I don't know. You would be shocked how many
Notwithstanding,
people.
again, the propaganda aspect.
You would be shocked how many officers I knew who believed when I served when I was an officer that believe in the U.S. Army that believed that the U.S. fought on the wrong side of World War II.
Well, Patton, if I recall, General Patton, was wont of saying maybe we should, give them back their weapons and keep marching east.
Yeah, that would have been one hell of a defeat
Yeah.
for the West.
So at the highest level, for coming from the senior military officer
Yeah,
in the U.S. Army back then, before the war over with, some people were talking.
yeah, absolutely. So tell
Yeah.
me, the running joke here is that the power of Western democracy is that it really doesn't give a damn what the people want. What are we looking at in France right now? I mean, obviously Macron isn't planning on leaving. The people aren't happy. I think what's his popularity now? Like 13%?
If that, yeah, if
If
that.
that.
I mean, Francois Hollande by October 2016 was at 4%.
Oh,
And,
seriously?
which is actually
4%?
what prompted him not to run again. Yeah, 4%.
4%?
That's Francois Hollande, yeah.
And those
December
4% were the
2016.
people that he was paying?
Yeah, I guess they must have, yeah, you always gotta, some people, it doesn't matter how much you try to educate them, they all just, they'll just stay, they'll stick to their beliefs and. They don't
4% is
travel. I
usually
don't
when you
know.
get a revolution going. Normally, people out there with pitchforks and torches. 4%. Wow.
No, but what's going on in France right now? Well, we have an institutional deadlock essentially. We've reached a dead end, and rather than dissolving the National Assembly and calling for snap election yet again, uh, and or picking a prime minister from somewhat of the opposition and work a cohabitation, as it's called there. Macron is doubling down and uh, going again with Le Cornu, who used to be the Minister of Defense. He's an incompetent guy, like most of them are. He lied on his CV as far as having a law degree. So this is
Oh,
the type
really?
of people we have.
Wow.
Yeah. They just, no, we're just scraping the barrel right now in terms
Wow.
of the French political class. But Macron is the candidate, is the guy of the oligarchy, right? And the oligarchy, basically, they want to do away with France. So Macron, in that sense, is doing a very good job. When I hear people saying Macron is incompetent, no, he's not incompetent. He's actually doing exactly what they want him to do, and which is to liquidate France. It's a fire sale. Well, Macron was involved in the fire sales of most of the French Jewish jewel, the family jewels, industrial technology, airspace, aerospace, the nuclear filiere with Alstom. He sold for like a tenth of the price or something like that. The crucial element, the of the nuclear filiere, the entire process,
Hmm.
the Arabelle, turbines to GE, General Electric, and he bought back the same turbines for like 5 times the price he sold them for. But he still needs the US, the GE permission to provide them to potential customers who would want to build a civilian nuclear plant. When we used to be the number one exporter of civil nuclear energy the world over 50 years ago. We refined the technology. We were the go-to guys. France never needed oil or gas because we had our nuclear. Now, to be sure, we had to go steal uranium from Niger, because obviously you need to enrich said uranium, so you need to get it somewhere. But technologically, we were king of the hill. But we're talking about the late 1960s, mid 1970s. We exported and sent nuclear scientists to Iraq, and we built their Osirak plant until the Israelis bombed it in 1981.
Oh, yeah, I remember
Uh,
that.
their scientists were living in the wealthy western suburbs of Paris. At the time, also, they were basically uh, learning what needed to be learned. But and we also provided the Israelis with the bomb. The American only
I thought
provided
it
the
was the
uranium.
Americans. They stole it from the
No, no,
Americans.
no. No, they stole the uranium. That's John Angleton. You have to look into John Angleton. That's what he was used for. But Saint-Gobain, that company, that huge state-owned company, French
Mm-hmm.
state-owned company, they basically built the reactor in the Dimona.
Ah, okay.
Yes. So the French gave the bomb, the Fourth Republic, before the Gaulls returned in 1958. The Fourth Republic, 1946, 1954, they were completely aligned with the Israeli colonial project. And so Shimon Peres even had an office at the Ministry of Defense, Boulevard Saint-Germain, not unlike some of those top officers who have offices in the Pentagon today.
Yeah,
I was in
yeah.
DC in 1999, and we visited the Pentagon, and I remember that at some point somebody pointed out that, no, here's an Israeli officer. That's August 1999. So, but I'm
Jeez.
sure they were present. Yes, yes, yes. They run the gamut from A to Z there. They just have to and they've got balls everywhere. They got balls. The CIA, the number two guy, the CIA, the lawyer, David, whatever his name, I forgot his last name. He was the in counsel of the CIA. He was a mole. And CIA is completely Israeli run now.
Well, I mean, look, Trump is
Right?
even campaigning for whom right now? Trump's campaigning for Lindsey Graham against what was it Hessen, the only Republican that's not really bought by the Israelis.
Massey, Thomas Massey.
Massey, that's
Oh,
it, Massey.
yeah.
Yeah, he's trying to
Yeah,
run Massey off.
Rand
He's
Paul is also
Rand
okay.
Paul. He's trying to run Rand
Yeah,
Paul off.
yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
yeah. I, I'm sure he'll go after Marjorie Greene too, even though she's a big supporter of his, because
Yes,
she's
but
not on the Israeli payroll.
no, she's not. She's not.
You know
Well,
what
we all know
amazed
what
me?
happened to Jim Traficant, right?
Oh
In
yeah,
2002, right? I mean, I
yeah.
think they whacked him, if I recall.
I
Or they,
wouldn't be surprised. I mean,
yeah,
it's telling when a photo came out with some 250 members of Congress, a half of Congress, so Congress like 535 members, um, in Israel, and a group photo under Israeli flags.
well, I mean, when Bibi comes in town, I mean, and he gives a speech to Congress, they rose up like 57 times.
Yep, like trained monkeys
I
or
mean,
trained
really.
dogs.
So we
Pavlov's
said no
dog.
kings. We said,
You know?
yeah, because they're all on the payroll
Oh,
or something else, or they're all on the flight logs, whichever.
well,
Pick your poison.
did you hear what Massey said? One of Massey's interviews, he said that there is a team, a dedicated team for
Yeah,
each member of Congress, a separate
yeah,
team,
miners. You got a miner. Yeah, yeah,
not just
that's right. With the
one, but an
shovel arm.
entire team, three, four,
Yeah,
five
yeah,
people for every member
yeah,
of Congress.
yeah. To tell them exactly how to vote, how to draft, what kind of word to use, when not to vote, etc., etc. No, no, well, I
It's
mean, this goes back to 1990. Pat Buchanan himself said it in 1990. He caught a lot of flack for it. He said he's a Congress, Israeli controlled occupied territory.
yeah,
And they
yeah.
shut him down. And, they tried to basically, yeah, they ridiculed him, slurred him, tarred him with all the insult, the regular, usual things. And it's funny because he just turned 100 years old, like recently, and they just decided to award him some kind of medal. I mean, the guy is completely, out of the political life for a long time
Wait a
now.
minute, he's still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive, I think. Yeah,
Oh my God,
or
I didn't
if he
really, I didn't know
passed,
that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But he's, he's just basically home now, or in a retirement home.
100
I don't
years
know.
old, hell, centurion.
But but it's funny because when you're not a threat to the order of things, after a while, to the extent you led a fruitful life, you were a part of Americana, I guess.
Yeah.
They come out, they pulled you out of the naphthalene, and they give you a medal. It's weird.
Brush the dead moths off, the cobwebs. Okay,
You
we
were a
can put you on
worthy
television
opponent.
again.
Here, here's your medal. We got you anyway in
Oh,
the end, right?
ah, jeez,
Yes.
jeez. Yeah, that's. Actually, I'm surprised. I haven't heard for anything about him in decade, maybe more. And yeah, I
Yeah.
thought he just died already. But wow, okay. Um,
No, no, he ran in 92 and in 96 for one last turn at it, and then he slowly faded. He kept writing a lot of op-eds. He was on Crossfire on CNN in the early 1990s. Tucker
hmm
Carlson, who actually went after him like with a vengeance. Yeah, he was
yeah.
Tucker Carlson. If we go by what Nick Fuentes says nowadays, Nick Fuentes is getting the treatment that Pat Buchanan used to get back in the 1990s, i.e., we can conceive that some people might be asking legitimate questions about this symbiotic relationship, but we have to somehow grapple on the issue and jump on it and address it in a way that does not give additional legitimacy to those cooks who basically are broadcasting from their mother's basement. Talking about Nick Fuentes, right? Because it might just empower them even more, and then it gets out of control. So that was interesting because yeah, that's exactly the same playbook, and they were going after Pat Buchanan at the time, and trying to say, no, it's all like, it's all, you're making it up. There's no such control, Israeli control over American politics.
Okay,
It's
so we know
anti-Semitic.
America, we know England, but I didn't realize France was that going that far back, that seriously under control.
Yeah, but France, along with the UK and US, is also under control. I mean, if we want to talk about, in that same vein, France is completely under control. I mean, the equivalent of the ADL, the Jewish Defense League, which is a terrorist organization both in the US and in Israel,
Hmm.
actually trains in the offices in the building of the Ministry of the Interior in France. They completely
Seriously.
control the Ministry of the Interior. Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
it's insane.
so talk
I mean,
about
it's
the
really
US is under
insane.
control. France is actually an Israeli colony. I mean, if it's
Oh my
possible,
God.
if you can conceive of it as, is there a place that's more under control than America is? Yeah, France. I mentioned what happened in the
Oh,
1940s and 50s, when basically you provided them with the bomb, right? Now, there was a context because of the Algerian War at the time. And
right.
so, yeah, so the Mossad was collaborating with the French military intelligence to try to identify the cells of the Algerian partisan. Uh, but there was always, a very strong pro-Israeli trope going on in French politics. Because you have to understand that the so-called French Revolution, as it were, is actually uh, engineered from outside,
Oh, really?
right? Yeah, it has nothing to do with what official
We're
textbook
talking the French Revolution with the Jacobites.
exactly. Yeah, the Jacobins.
Mhm.
Yes. So, I mean, they basically created this counter church,
Yeah, I
and they
know
were
that.
trying to
Yeah.
emancipate and recruit people of the nobility all the way at the royal court to try to basically recruit them and turn them into fellow travelers. But the idea was that the bankers from Amsterdam, were still remembering that Louis XIV sent its armies after them because he didn't want to pay the loans. He didn't want to reimburse the money. And this is how it works. Those guys, if you don't pay back, you have to read Shakespeare, Shylock, whatever, the banker of Venice or whatever, the merchant of Venice. 1 pound of flesh. Right?
Yeah.
So the
Plus
king,
interest.
the king French royalty, yeah, well, because Catholicism, was an intrinsic part of French history
Yeah.
from the 500 to the 1789. So it's over 1,000 years. The Catholic Church and the monarchy together made France through a centralization process.
Well,
They created a nation.
that's true for all Catholic and all Orthodox countries. That the church and the
Yeah,
state were they weren't
but
the
there was
same, but they
something
were
about
hand in hand.
France.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But France was the eldest daughter of the church. Uh,
Hmm.
uh, you know, And actually, today it's interesting because a few years back there was some kind of papal bull, whatever they call
Hmm.
it, and uh, the uh, the covenant with Mary, Mother of God, now the saving grace that Mary, the figure of Mary represents in the triumvirate of has now been moved from France to Russia. And even though Russia is Orthodox, but it transcends both Catholicism and Orthodoxy, and the idea that now the Christendom is represented by Russia. Russia has taken on the mantle of defending Christians worldwide, which is why we're seeing a lot of Christian families moving to Russia thanks to Decree 702.
Well,
Um,
you know
Not
the
only,
third.
but
You know the
yeah, the
third
third Rome.
Rome. The,
Yes,
the
yeah.
first Rome fell to heresy because of the split, the Catholics and the Orthodox. The second Rome fell to the infidels, the Turks. Moscow is the third Rome. There will be no more Romes. And the Greeks get a little upset because, oh yeah, 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 you're the third Rome. but they don't get the point. The mission of the Third Rome is to be the ground, the taproot of Christianity that serve where it survives, and then to restore the second Rome and the first Rome. That's the
I
mission
didn't
of the
know
Third
that.
Rome. Roll it all
Ah,
back.
I was with you, and there shall not be any other after that. But
Yeah.
I didn't know about the restoration of the second
Yes.
and the first.
Yes.
Ah, interesting.
Russia has tried many times to restore the Byzantine Empire. The French, the German, I mean, I'm sorry, the French, the British, well, obviously the Turks have stood in the way, and that was just strictly out of, oh, Russia will have control over those areas. But the even Catherine the Great, before she died, and her incompetent son took the throne. Um, she was going to place Constantine, her youngest grandson, on the throne of Constantinople and reinstate an independent Byzantine Empire. That was her mission. And she didn't live
Mhm,
long enough, heart attack. But that's how that went. But yeah, that's been one of the driving forces. Reinstate Constantinople and the Byzantine Empire.
mhm.
Not an exit.
Yeah.
Reinstate it.
Mhm. Well, it's eschatological writings, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think this is what's his name, Sheikh Imran Hussein. I don't know if you know him.
No.
He's been talking about this, the convergence between uh, international events and eschatological
Hmm.
writings, but he does it from a Islamic scholar perspective. Uh, there's a term in Arabic term, something as zaman. Zaman means
Hmm.
the end time, and this fusion perfectly with revelations, as it were. And so
Hmm.
all the eschatologies, most eschatologies, Quranic and Christians, are merging to become one. And from his point of view, and I don't think he's a Shia, but it's interesting because he mentions there's going to be like the 12th Imam, the hidden Imam,
Hmm.
from Shia faith, who's going to somehow, play a part in heralding the return of Christ. And then together they're going to join forces and defeat, uh, you know, the forces of evil, whatever you want to call it. So it's interesting how all this is it's merging now. It's almost like the sparkling around us in the air. You can almost, if you listen, you know,
Yep.
you can really get a feel for those things now. It's
Well,
happening. It's like in that movie, The Highlander. They used to have this term called the quickening. We
yeah, the
have some kind
quickening.
of quickening going on.
And we're,
Yes,
we're talking the
it's
old
happening.
Highlander, not this new crap that they
Yeah,
redid.
yeah, yeah, yeah. The old, yeah, yeah,
The Sean
yeah, the
Connery,
old one.
the classic.
That's right. Yeah, Sean Connery. Yeah.
Uh,
My
listen,
Cloud. Yeah.
we've got about 5 minutes left, and I've got the question of questions that everyone has
Yep.
always wondered. Will there
Shoot.
be a revolution in France? Will there be a civil war in France? What will the French people really stand up? Not the little yellow jacket walk out, get shot by grape
Yeah,
shot
yeah,
and
yeah.
and rubber bullets.
Frankly, no, I don't see it. And this is what I told Jamal Thomas also on his show, and I went at it for about an hour explaining why. But to make a long story short, the because the substrate of the French people, what made the French people, has disappeared. It's not France has evolved into something that's more like two or three Frances now living within the same territory. They have, I think, their destiny is to become one. But the powers that be are doing everything they can to maintain those artificial differences. And so, no, I don't see without unity of purpose. I don't see any kind of meaningful movement. Uh, and then there's also the boomer generation. They are the most influential voting bloc. They own all the means of productions and the levers, institutional levers and economic levers. And they're more than just alive and kicking. So, and they don't care about what comes after them. They this generation has done so much harm to France, but not only to France, I think to the whole
Er-
Western world.
oh, the whole
Bunch of
Western world,
hedonistic
the
fucks.
whole
Yeah,
Western
yeah,
world.
they're
Yeah,
just unsufferable. But
yeah.
it is what it is. And so I guess no, we're gonna have to really drink the what's called the callus all the way. And au liqueur. Let's hope for the
Well,
best.
when you have radical differences in France, because I mean, you've got particularly small town France. I mean, I've been many times to France. You've got small town France, village France, that's basically still Catholic, basically still conservative. You've got Islamics that are, many of them are second, third generation in France, but they're radical, they're insane, and they want to destroy everything that's France. Um, how can
But
they
that's because
survive in the same?
because the powers that be, the Masonic. I mean, you have to understand that the Masons are alive and well in France. In the English-speaking country, they might be akin to Rotary clubs, kind of like a funny thing. You go get dressed up, It's not something that really defines the mindset.
Hmm.
It's more about the Protestant ethic in those lands,
Right.
and this idea, that if no matter how you go about getting rich, if you end up there, you've got God's favor. So God is very present, even though it's completely twisted.
Right.
But there's still this notion of Protestantism. In France, we're not a Protestant country, so Catholicism up until all the way to now. I mean, there's a movie right now called Sacré-Cœur, was independently funded, who's doing pretty well. And there's been a tug of war between the mayor of, I think, Marseille or Toulouse, and the administrative jurisdiction. The administrative jurisdiction rendered the decision enjoining the mayor not to prevent the screenings, but just goes to tell you that anything related to Catholicism, the faith, Christ, Mary, the apostle, the love of one another, it's almost like like vampires. The Masons will run the country, and especially through the lodge called the Grand Orient, the Great Orient of
Hmm.
France. It is the super lodge that provides all the prime ministers and presidents and ministers and what have you. They really are into this, great supreme being stuff of Masonic beliefs.
Like
And
the Skull and Bones in the U.S., where they go out to go
yeah,
worship the owl statues. Also,
yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly, yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty much it. And so, yeah, they just, and they understand. I mean, they're not stupid people. They understand that if a country is inhabited by faith again, they will have a fight on their hands. That's why
Yeah.
now they're going after the Muslim population, because Islam is something that fills the void left by this repression, all out repression against Catholicism. And a lot of French, original French, quote unquote, are now even themselves converting to Islam because it gives them purpose, it gives them something. So we might be looking at some kind of regeneration, through Islam. I mean, if Catholicism cannot defend its own, if nobody attends services in churches, uh, then I mean, what's going to happen? You know,
Yeah.
uh, so and the Catholic Church since 1965, since Vatican II, has completely abandoned the sacraments. They've embraced globalism. They've
Yeah.
embraced LGBT. They've embraced the green agenda and all this crap.
Arnaud,
So we cannot
I'm
count
sorry.
on Rome to help us out.
I've got to interrupt.
And I'll
We
leave
are
it there.
almost out of time. We've got like about 20
Yep.
seconds left. I want to thank you for joining. And I'm sure this is not the last time we will talk. And I want to thank everybody who also came watching. If you have any comments or if you have any questions, any commentary, leave it in the comments. I will make sure Arnaud has the links so he can see. Write good things.
And I can answer the
Be
questions.
nice.
Yes. Be
To
nice
both
now.
sides. Thank you, everyone.